Hello everyone, this is Yoko. I've noticed that a lot of information about what's happening in China isn't accurately reaching countries outside of China. So, I've decided to gather information on my own and share it in English on this channel. I gather information from various sources, so I'd appreciate your comments on the content of the videos. Also, please note that English is not my native language, so I use an AI speaker to create the audio to ensure the information is conveyed accurately. Today, I'd like to talk about the fear of authoritarianism in China and provide some specific examples. Recently, there have been reports in the Japanese media about the serious state of the Chinese economy. However, the actual situation in Chinese society is much worse than what the media portrays. When you watch the news in Japan, you might hear about Evergrande Group facing economic difficulties or the resumption of trading of Evergrande Group's stocks, but relying solely on Japanese information might not fully convey the fact that Evergrande Group is essentially bankrupt. The important thing to understand is that there are both legal and substantive aspects to whether a company is bankrupt. While the substantive aspect is crucial, legally, a company is not considered bankrupt until the necessary legal procedures have been carried out. Therefore, many Chinese companies are in a situation where they are essentially bankrupt but have not gone through the required legal processes. You might wonder why the substantive bankruptcy matters. It's essential for those who engage with these companies, including employees and creditors, to know whether they will receive their money, salaries, or debts. Even if a company is not declared bankrupt legally, it's meaningless if employees don't get paid, and debts are not repaid. Real estate developers face additional significant issues. People who have pre-purchased apartments may find themselves unable to receive their properties if construction is halted midway. Even if legally, Evergrande Group is not considered bankrupt, it's pointless for those individuals until construction resumes. In reality, construction has stopped, and payments are delayed, but the Chinese government is not addressing these bankruptcies. When stock trading resumes, speculations arise among those trading stocks. They may suspect that the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, might sacrifice those who lent money, transacted with Evergrande Group, or bought Evergrande properties to save the company. If that were the case, the stock price might go up in the future. If the CCP government intends not to let the company collapse, buying the stocks here might lead to a price increase. This is the frightening aspect of authoritarianism in a single-party state. Due to the lack of proper legal procedures, everything depends on the CCP's whims, and many people think they should act based on the CCP's intentions, not the legal processes. If they think the CCP might help, they buy; if not, they don't. In other words, it's a highly opaque situation. Economic activities become a gamble because decisions are based on vague speculations about CCP actions, which may or may not be consistent and lack solid grounds. In reality, many companies continue to exist even though they are essentially bankrupt, a situation that has long been known as zombie companies in China. While this term might be familiar to many in Japan, Chinese zombie companies are those that aren't making real profits but survive to avoid being pushed out by banks. I plan to create a video that further explains the importance of this issue. What sets China apart is its practice of allowing companies to survive even when they are essentially bankrupt without proper legal procedures. Furthermore, they selectively repay creditors, making payments to some while ignoring others. This is a common practice in China. Continuing this practice leads to the creation of new zombie companies. Companies that engage with these zombie companies may not receive payments, potentially harming their own operations. However, the CCP doesn't want to close these companies. As a result, these companies themselves might turn into zombie companies. Prolonging the life of one zombie company leads to the birth of another, and such cases are prevalent in China, hindering the growth of the Chinese economy. However, not everyone is denied payment by these zombie companies. For instance, state-owned enterprises pay their employees salaries and management's bonuses. In other words, zombie companies depend on various reasons to pay some and ignore others. This is influenced by political factors. Those with strong political influence receive payments and might oppose the closure of companies. Even if those not receiving payments go to court to demand their money, their cases may be rejected by the courts. Therefore, it seems that the Chinese government is tolerating these practices. To sum it up, this is the situation regarding the fear of authoritarianism in China. When a company's management becomes precarious, decisions about whom to repay and whom to postpone payments to become entirely at the discretion of the banks. What's peculiar is that even if you want to raise objections, there are no means to do so, and this is the reality in China. This applies not only to bank deposits but also to everyone who has lent money to zombie companies or engaged in transactions with them. It's not about handling it through the legal system, it's about those in power deciding where to allocate money based on their interests. This is the actual state of the Chinese economy, and if this continues, companies that should have naturally phased out continue to survive, spreading the negative impact throughout Chinese society and leading to a prolonged economic downturn. By the way, in China today, I believe they prioritize refunding deposits for foreigners and paying foreign creditors as much as possible. The reason behind this is that if foreign companies or foreigners lose their money, it would seriously damage China's business environment. If foreign capital starts leaving China, it could be a devastating blow to the Chinese economy. So, the Chinese government is trying to create an impression that doing business in China is safe. Currently, foreign companies and foreigners are somehow managing, but if the Chinese economy continues to decline significantly, and if the world economy further polarizes into the Chinese economic sphere and the American economic sphere, then eventually, the property of foreigners might not be protected anymore. China is not a rule of law country, it's a country ruled by individuals. Therefore, bankruptcy proceedings, debt restructuring, and such things are fundamentally different from Japan or the United States. Even if a company is essentially bankrupt, it can continue to exist in a formal sense, and this ultimately leads to an expansion of the damage. Currently, in China, the actual damage is increasing. For example, when it comes to Evergrande Group, it's not just a simple financial crisis, in reality, it's already over. And when you consider allowing the trading of such a company's stocks again, this is something that would be absolutely unacceptable in a well-functioning country. That's all for this time. Let's meet again next time.